Hello moviegoers, I am the host of Midnight Movie Madness, and last night I got the chance to see the final entry in Christopher Nolan's highly successful Batman trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. Is it on par with The Dark Knight? Does it have a satisfying conclusion? And lastly, is it the best movie to come out this summer? Well, does this answer your question? Let's move on to the story. It takes place 8 years after the events in The Dark Knight, where Batman has taken the blame for all the crimes of Two-Face, and because of that, Gotham City has now become a safer place than before. But that's just the calm before the storm, as evil begins to rise in the form of Bane, a masked, cold-hearted terrorist who wants nothing more than to see Gotham crumble to the ground. And only then must billionaire Bruce Wayne don the cape and cowl once again in order to stop him. The returning cast is great as always. Christian Bale as Wayne is probably the most emotionally driven portrayal he's given to the role in the entire series. Gary Oldman continues to do terrific work as Commissioner Gordon, and Michael Caine as the loyal butler and father figure Alfred is absolutely worthy of a supporting actor nomination. Every time he's on screen, he just makes you want to cry. He's that great in this movie. The new members in the cast are also great, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Marion Cotillard, Tom Hardy as the aforementioned Bane, and Anne Hathaway as the infamous feline femme fatale, Catwoman. As I mentioned back in my Mission Impossible review, this movie features an hour's worth of IMAX footage, and they looked just as grand and epic as the ones featured in The Dark Knight. I could mention a few memorable action scenes that happened in this movie, but I don't want to go into full detail of what happened, so instead, I'll have to say you have to see this movie on the big screen, preferably in the IMAX format. It just looks so freaking cool. But speaking of Mission Impossible, you remember the opening 6 minutes that they showed before the movie and how unintelligible Bane sounded? Well, they fixed it here and he's a lot clearer than before. Maybe a little too clear. I mean, it's fairly obvious that they went back during post and changed his voice, but they didn't have to make him sound that 100% clear. But despite that minor complaint, I still thought Bane was a pretty badass villain. Sure, he's no Joker, and yeah, his face is covered pretty much throughout the entire movie, but in terms of who could be a worthy opponent for Batman, I think the filmmakers chose pretty well on their part. The film does run almost 3 hours long, which might burst a few bladders along the way, and it may be a little too dark and extreme for most viewers to handle. And yeah, I can agree with the faults that a few people had with it, but for me, those are just nitpicks that overall didn't lower the experience for me. I will say that the best Batman movie still remains The Dark Knight. But out of all the final installments in most movie trilogies go, The Dark Knight Rises ranks up with the very best. It's been the movie I've been wanting to see the most this entire summer, and it didn't disappoint at the very slightest. So for me, I'm gonna give The Dark Knight Rises my highest rating of a 10 out of 10. You've done well, Mr. Nolan. You've done well. So that concludes our show. I'm the host, and I'll see you next time on another Midnight Movie Madness.